Hey folks, welcome back to Mild Concern. Is that a point? It is a point, okay. Walk slow. It might be dangerous. Oh boy. Okay. Nowhere else to go. I said walk slow. We've said a lot of crazy things during this adventure. Let's see how many are right. What's that? Hold up. Small white flowers blossom all around you. Had you been quicker, you would know why they're important. A rubber dinghy. It's deflated. Broken. Like you. What's this way? Nothing. I will leave no stone unturned. Oh! Alright, the game obviously wants us to go there. What if we don't? The air smells sweet and scary somehow. Nothing over here. Yes, man with a gun, I see you. But I'm an adventure game protagonist. I have to exhaust all these opportunities first, okay? Oh dear. An old man wearing tracksuit trousers leans on the frame stock of his rifle. He gathers a big ball of spit in his mouth. Ugh. And spits it out into the extinguished fire before him. He raises his black eyes, hooded by creased eyelids, to meet yours. Unclouded by cataracts, his eyesight is sharp. He's practically tearing up from spite. Hatred got the best of him a long time ago. This man hates everything. Nice gun you got there.
It's not nice, it's a piece of shit. Gets the job done.
He shrugs. What make of rifle is that? Doesn't look familiar.
It's a Dragon 446.
Southeast. Samaran made. Exotic. Must be defunct, too. No modern rifle manufacturer of that name speaks to mind.
A Samaran rifle? How did you get hold of one?
It was sent to us by our brothers in the Xinyao commune. Military aid.
Our brothers in the It has stayed true to him. He can still make it sing. Did you close the blast door?
And you opened it. How?
I fueled the generator, then used the console.
I should have burned that console down.
He shakes his head. How did you know I was coming?
Reactionary rock and roll music playing on the water.
Told you we shouldn't play sad FM.
But you didn't say that, Kim.
I did.
No. We have entered a world where he said you shouldn't. It is the only world. You did not, Kim, and I will take that to my grave, which might be soon because this man has a gun. It was not rock and roll. It was sad FM.
Sad FM, huh? I always hated that station. phlegmatic counter-revolutionary dirges. Sadness is a mental illness, a weapon of the bourgeoisie.
Oh, wow.
The fascists were right about rock and roll. It is degenerate, hip gyrating mental illness music.
I mean, I did gyrate my hips and I have mental illness, so you got me there. The Sinyao commune?
You heard me. It's good now, like chalk wiped from a board.
His gaze turns outward. You've retained your eyesight. I can see it.
My eyesight, yes, helps me see all this shit.
A shudder of disgust passes his right side. His left side remains motionless. Yeah, your weapon has stayed true to you. Mine has stayed true to me too.
Yes, I bet you killed a lot of people with it, you fascist fuck.
What?
Have you come to make me one of them?
His grip on the rifle tightens. His right eye twitches with what? Fear? Rage? I didn't want any fascist points, game. You suck.
We have come to ask you questions, nothing more.
The lieutenant puts his hand on his holster.
If you do not comply, we will take you in. Do you understand?
Ugh. Another spitball lands in the ashes. That's the only answer he gives. I'm gonna turn this gentleman down a little bit more because that was a gross sound and it was really loud in my ears, and I'm sorry about yours. The danger levels here are hard to read. One moment he's fire, the next, a fire gone out. Are you the fire guy?
Oh, what now? I can't hear you.
He cups his ear. Did you tell some kids to put out their fire like Smokey the Bear?
I may have. All sorts of little rats have come sniffing around trying to give up the position.
Okay. The position. Sounds like a hiding place.
Fire guy, regressive bourgeoisie henchman, can't even talk like a grown-up.
Hey, heck with you. All right. I'm with the police. You can keep the gun, but keep it down. Not one move.
No.
Ha ha ha! Kim aims his pistol square at the man's head and says,
Put it down now, sir.
Or you're going to blow my brains out before you question me. To hell with it. It's a walking stick anyway. It's out of bullets.
The old man lays the rifle down carelessly, then looks at it lying there. Like an amputated limb in the sand. Pick up the gun lying in the sand. His gaze follows your motions. The rifle feels surprisingly light in your hand. Frame stocked and patched in places with tape and wire. Like my first car. Inspect it closer. Rifle's in shabby shape, like a crutch that's seen too much travel. Hieroglyphs are embossed into the forearm, made of walnut. On the butt, you see Vespertine writing, burnt into the wood. Trigon, 446mm, made in Sinyao. It's as he said. No one said it has to be a Belmagrave. The lieutenant does not take his eyes off the old man. We were just guessing. From ballistics, it could easily have been a Trigon, too. Makes sense, it's the same caliber. Looking at it, and looking at the name, in cases that we don't really know about ballistics of a weapon we just poked at. It doesn't matter if it was made in Shanti Shanti. All it has to do is use jacketed ammunition. And it does. Yes, it does. The right type and the right caliber. The lieutenant nods, glancing at the gun. He's liking this. Stow it. The old man keeps following your motions with his gaze. His right arm twitches suddenly. Some kind of involuntary response? Something is slightly off with his motorics. This looked very much like the murder weapon. It could be used against him to get a confession. In time. What have you been using this gun? Who are you? My name. He looks across the water, then back at you. Is Yosef Lilyarovich Dros, Political Commissar of the 114th Anti-Aircraft Division of the Horf Army of the Commune of Ravashur. I am a deserter, a partisan, and a prisoner of war. This is my termless surrender. His eyes turn to the reeds again, dead and dull. The Commune of Ravashur. The lieutenant forgets to close his mouth. Do you mean the ICM? You're a holdover from the Insulindian Citizens Militia, the Army of the Revolution. I was recruited in Jamrock in 07, trained in the École de Contrôle Aérien, and consigned to emergency defense duties in 08. I left my unit on the eve of the landing. When I returned here on May 14th, the commune had fallen, still armed and ideologically trained. I wrote a criticism of myself and resumed partisan duties. You've been on this island for 43 years? No. He looks up into the fire. A wisp of smoke rises from somewhere between the charred logs. I've been on other islands too. I was on Resurrection until they turned it into a spa in 18. Then I was on E48 and Nameless Sound until the sea washed over. Then I came back here. That was 22 years ago. Again, you've been hiding here for 43 years, 43 years, and 10 months. That's steadfast. It's not how a human being should live, but I had to. He grimaces, clearly in pain. I couldn't just forget. I couldn't just forget what I saw. He just couldn't. You couldn't give up? He nods. But he can now. What have you been doing during all this time? Kim is still in wonder. Hiding, fishing, waiting. He looks across the water. Where the afternoon grows late on Rue de Saint-Ghislain, people walk home, streets' lights will soon be lit. Further inland, the streets are alive with workers. Men, women, children, street hawks and migrant laborers. The temperature is steady. Alto cumulus clouds form above Precinct 41. Two police officers step out of the Whirling in Rags cafeteria. Satellite Officer Jean-Vic Mer inspects a series of burnt black letters splashed across the plaza mosaic. Patrol Officer Judith Menot points west. The fishing village. She glances at her watch. We meet in 15 minutes. It's a 10-minute walk. The officers go, leaving behind the writing, still smoldering. One day, it says, I will return to your side. Always waiting. The old man turns his eyes from the shore and back to you. For what? For her to return. Her who? Girl-child revolution. Girl-child revolution? Always. I'm afraid she's gone. The material base for an uprising has eroded. The working class has betrayed mankind and themselves. The historic opportunity for a revolution has passed. It will not come back anymore. However hard I try, whatever I do. What has he done? Perhaps a confession will lighten the load. What have you done? Yes, what? To get things going again. Kim steps closer. Fan the flame? There is no flame to fan. He stares right through him, blinking his dark eyes. There's nothing left of the world of our dreams. You deserted your unit? I was just 16 years old. 15 when I volunteered. I had a lapse of faith. and of courage, too. A lapse of faith? You could say I misunderstood the historic role of the proletariat, and I thought Mazovian socio-economics were fallible. For a second, I doubted the irreducible laws of historic materialism. A second is all it took. For what? For reaction to take hold. Reaction? Petty bourgeois terror is in all men. It wasn't reaction, you were just afraid. It's the same thing. You haven't seen it. Not really, not naked. It's impossible not to be afraid. And this was when? The lieutenant instinctively looks to his notebook, but doesn't take it out. May the 13th, 08, 44 years ago. The horizon was black with coalition airships. Their petroleum rose to the sky, and it looked like it formed the clouds, storm clouds. When they started shelling, it was dark magic. Yeah? The combined might of international capital, all at once, all the greed and terror in the world, tore into Revachol. He lifted streets from the ground and turned houses into ghosts. We were in the flak tower. He gestures toward it. Huddled on the floor. The artillery was 80 kilometers away in a zone, but I knew the commune would fall. We would all be turned to ash. So I said I was going to the map room. He looks east. What then? I ran. I climbed the chain link across the water, and I hid inland, in the bunkers underground like the weakest of the weak. A mouse! Frightened of the ordnance all night, and the sound of the rotors in the morning, worrying. He looks at the sky. What was that? Airships. I climbed out. Into hell. The landing was complete. The chain was submerged. I had to swim back. The fortress was after submerged too. Shattered. They'd all drowned in the lower levels or got torn to shreds above. The anti-aircraft gun had malfunctioned. So had I. I left them without ideological direction. He opens his eyes and stares right through you. It was real. I'd seen it. I'd seen it in reality. Some kind of great terror, worse than you've ever seen. Seen what? The mask of humanity fall from Capitol. It has to take it off to kill everyone. Everyone you love, all the hopes and tenderness in the world. It has to take it off, just for 1 second, to do the deed. And then you see it, as it strangles and beats your friends to death. The sweetest, most courageous people in the world. You see the fear and power in his eyes. Then you know. You know what? That the bourgeois are not human. Say nothing. I had to. I had to fight it. I had to never stop. The old man falls silent. His black eyes keep piercing your skin as he looks to some great distance behind you, shaking his head slowly, retreating from it. So this place, this island, is your former fortress? It's not an island, right? It's a defensive fortification of the commune of Revachol, and I am his last surviving defender. Yeah? The congenitally deformed King Philippe II built it to restrict access to the Bay of Revachol. We captured it in '02, retrofitted the fort with an anti-aircraft gun to defend against an airborne landing. Against the whole world. You mean the retaking? Coalition military called it Operation Deathblow. I later found out on the radio they called it Deathblow. You're one of them. Tell me, who speaks like that? We had 50 million people on Caillou alone. Alright, first off, I'm not one of them. Sure you are, your RCM. Answer me. Who calls an operation against 50 million people death blow? Yeah, murderers. I know what you mean. You don't know! You haven't seen it. Iblis. Huh? The black-eyed angel. How have you survived all this time? How does anyone survive? He looks at his worn running shoes. I steal. What do you steal? Supplies, vegetables. I collect rainwater. It's the life of a dog, not a human being. He coughs once more, then puts his hand on his belly. How is your health, Mr. Rudo? I've been throwing up blood since winter. Red, like beetroot. Been passing it in stool, too. The RCM can provide medical services. You need to be looked over. I need to die. A droll smile stretches across his mouth. You don't have medical facilities. You have guns. That's all they give you. Toy guns. You also have Druamine. But we do have Druamine and other opioid-based painkillers. You must be in pain. I have been running out of that stuff. A light goes on in his eyes. He smacks his dry lips. There's no way he could manage the pain without them. It's safe to say he's addicted to painkillers by now. Yeah, you like that idea, don't you? Easy little joys. A dark joke, a sunshiny day. Morphine. How have you coped mentally? I haven't. I have holes in my brain. Years missing, others filled with pain only. A decade of... His eyes roll into his skull and back. I don't even know what. Inferno. What's Kim about to say? I would imagine it gets tremendously difficult mentally to live in isolation. Traitors. It's better alone. He nods towards Martinet. I watch the people of this city turn the lights back on. More and more every year. Ruins glimmering in the dark like a fucking merry-go-round. It's disgusting. He looks down at his shoes. His face parched from the sun and the wind. There's a wince of pain in there somewhere. Are they not heartbroken? How could they have moved on? How have you concealed yourself all these years? It was hard in the teens. I didn't have partisan training. They were searching for stragglers, those bloodhounds. He closes his eyes, shaking his head. Floodlights on the water at night. There were posters, campaigns. We communards still hoped, and they needed to snuff that hope out. The East capitulated, Martinez and Coal City were turned to dust. But Jamrock, Faubourg, even Coron, and Boogie Street, of course, Boogie Street. Those fucking kips had Mazov coursing through their veins. And others too. Some cordons of Revachol were still fighting. There were cells, I tried to contact them. Soon they all went dead. The frequency's dead. He shakes his head. How did you get between here and the mainland? At night, I used a dinghy. He nods towards a deflated tire in the reeds. I only went after dark then. When I got to the city, I stayed underground. Patrols. You lot. The commons too. They'd started snitching. In the city, you move underground. From bunker to bunker. Not anymore. No one cares now. I don't even have to hide. They think I'm another antisocial vagrant. I could walk straight into that town if I wanted. He falls silent, his gaze fixed on the shacks huddled together across the water. Why don't you just walk there? I don't want to. They're all traitors, pigs, rabbits, dogs. Men without ideals are only animals. He doesn't want to see life moving on. People forgetting, drinking, laughing. Hey, have you been to the weapons cache under 22B? The doomed commercial area? The what? So you finally found it. He looks at you and pulls the raincoat tighter around his neck. There must have been a small squadron's worth of arms in there. Belmar Graves, right? They were, but they were damaged beyond use. I know. So you've been there. Sleeping. Some nights. Ammo scrounging on others. Those McGraths were shit even before they corroded. Some, however, had bullets in the chamber. What about under the Feld building? A propaganda bunker? I used to, but not anymore. Propaganda bunker? They stored leaflets there, broadcasting equipment too. Made broadcasts, I think. Propaganda officers. I buried them with their leaflets. They killed themselves. 2 young boys. Killed themselves? A lot of our boys did. I spent some winters there. Never liked it. Never just kept thinking of them. He stares at the ruins of the Feld building. No need to go underground anymore. He's better in the ruins on the ground. And do you smoke TMO tree? Is that why I've been finding them? I do. Ever smoke them on the mainland? They're good. Plenty of tar. I like that boy on the back too. Reminds me of the last century. Okay. So this is your termless surrender. You're with the RCM. The coalition-appointed mob that enforces bourgeois morals in Ravachol. We're not coalition-appointed. We just try to help people. He stares at you, coldly. You're the RCM. You represent the Moralist International, the enemies of humanity, who took the city. I represent their adversary, Le Parti Communiste Insulinde. Take me to them as a prisoner of war. I have relinquished my weapon I can no longer serve. No superiors can relieve me of my duty. You bulldoze them all to a mass grave for trying to free him. His hand shakes. A spray of blood from his mouth on the black charcoal in the fire pit. René, the royalist on the coast, said, René, you never signed the Revacholian Instrument of Surrender. Liberal reactionaries signed that instrument. Traitors who should have been burnt alive. I answer to the Communist Party. Is that part of why you've been here all this time? Because the party didn't surrender? He just wipes the blood from his chin. That's honorable. It's all of those things, but it's honorable. Honor is a feudal atavism. He looks at the fire pit. My motive is class. So you're a communist soldier from the communist army. Oh no, I hit the wrong thing. I deserve that. No, I am not a soldier. I am an ideological officer. I belong to the party, not the army. But you said you were trained and assigned to the defense corps. Trained in historical materialism, then assigned as a political commissar by the party. These things used to mean something. What does a political commissar do? But he doesn't answer. He tilts his silver head and looks at the reeds. You see a small tremor pass through his legs. Kim speaks softly. His job was to assure the army answers to civilian control and follows the ideology of the commune. Scientific communism! The tracksuit-clad old man is suddenly reanimated. A commissaire politique is a night philosopher of the revolution, a future human. Awakened from shutdown by the promise of ideology, he was like a cleric. Like a shepherd. Really now? Okay then, I over-mystified that a bit. So, you're a trained communist. He nods slowly. Then another tremor. You know, I'm also a communist. No, you're not. You're a liberast. Liberast? A liberal and a pederast. That's what most liberals are. That's rude. I told you I'm a communist. Detective. Kim gives you a stern look. We have not come here to discuss ideology. He then turns to the old man. We have come to ask questions regarding a murder investigation. The old man spits into the fire pit. He doesn't say anything more. A jitter passes his lower body. The expression on his face is unreadable. There's some sort of interference there. Neurological? There's definitely something off with his body. Something more than just metabolism. Alright, I have another question. There is nothing serious in this world. It's a farce. Dang. For a 60-year-old man with stomach trouble who's spent his entire life alone on an uninhabited island, he seems surprisingly fit. That's it? He's clearly a drug user of the painkiller sort, prone to erratic hand gestures, and malnourished. But that's it. The moment passes and you say... What was that again? Composure. Jeez, this was a long one. What strikes you about this gaunt man is not the stomach pain, or the cough, or the malnutrition. It's precisely what you could not see before. For a man who spent 44 years hidden in the urban wild, he's surprisingly okay. Indeed, he speaks fluidly. His movements are rapid, if erratic. His voice, despite the cough, is there. It's capable of expressing complicated ideas. Above all, he seems animated. By what? It's a mystery. This animation comes at a cost, too. Erratic hand gestures, thought processes cut off like threads, as he just stares at the logs or the reeds. He also suffers mood swings, bubbling to the surface, unconstrained by his nervous system. Great leaps of emotion, from anger to grief, despair, and also flashes of lust simmering in there. Not too common in people his age. Dementia? You've seen demented people before. This feels similar yet different. When his thoughts move, they are lucid, keen even. Not senile. Is it some kind of substance damage? Like he's addicted to something. Not only the painkillers he's clearly on. Wouldn't a foul temper be a byproduct of his life? Perhaps, but he seems more than that. The inner turmoil takes unexpected turns, as if forced upon him in a way. In summary, you sense some underlying neurological disorder. Wouldn't his glands have stopped working by now for lust? There is definitely something hormonal there. Whatever the condition he's suffering, there is a sexual element to it. Mr. Dro, are you on some kind of a psychoactive substance? No! He snaps out of staring through you. I won't be stuffed full of shit like the rest of this city. You said you'd take painkillers. The lieutenant follows your lead. I take them to cope with pain. The people of these painkillers, or people of this city use painkillers because they have pain. Untreated illness, not enough money for a greedy doctor. He's indeed very lucid at times. It's not a downer, rather an upper, judging by his snaps. Let's go down the list. How about Pyrhalidon? I don't know what that is. He shakes his head. Amphetamine? Like some kind of decadent rock star? He doesn't dignify it with more of an answer. Are you okay? How's your memory? He waves his hand, chasing something that's not there. No, I'm not okay. I shit blood, and I'm surrounded by insane people. There it is. Erratic hand motions, bouts of rage, and the stomach thing too, of course. Could it be a symptom of overdosing on something? Something even you have not tried? Keep your eyes peeled! What have you been using this gun for? I've used it for killing people. Here we go! A trail of blood. The lieutenant smells it too. Killing people? It's a gun. That's what they're for. You want the moralist euphemism? Defending your family and your property? I haven't done that. I've used it to kill people. Interesting. During or after the war? There is no after the war. He shakes his head and smiles, his teeth are rotten black. Class war is never over. So he's continued killing after the hostilities have ended. Okay. This is it. You can feel it like battery acid on the tip of your tongue, something you haven't felt in a while, but... But what? This is what you live for! This is the shit. The great serotonin jackpot! The solution. Going straight, no euphemisms, he doesn't like those. No. Be careful now. Slow and steady does it. Make him repeat it first. Don't mess this up. Remember, he wants to tell you. Get personal. Wait, so which one do I say then? Nothing comes to you. Silence, his black eyes look at you. And in them, a chill. Like electricity running up your spine, crawling into your skull. What? All is not as it seems, detective. The lieutenant turns to you with well-disguised, but present, impatience. So you're saying you've killed people after active fighting stopped? What did I just say? He keeps shaking his head, erratically suddenly. He brushes something out of his eye. What did I just tell you? Don't drop the ball now. Did you use that gun to shoot and kill a colonel of the security contractor Crenell? The who what now? He leans in and cups his ear. He heard you. He just wants you to say it. You're in. The corpse in ceramic armor, hanging behind the swirling in rags. Did you shoot him? Oh, yes, that one. He looks up at the sky and clacks his tongue. Ugly piece of work, that boy. Did you kill him? The lieutenant takes a sudden step towards him. I am the son of a welder and the officer of the Commune of Crevachon. He spits a big one at the lieutenant's feet. I do not collaborate with murderers and pederasts of the liberal regime. A drop of blood in the saliva. Tear into him! Pile it on him! Everything you got on him, the more the better! The gun, the murder weapon, is the perfect opener. The smell of blood is in the air, but what else? There was something you can't remember. We've done the ballistics. Shot came from this island. I saw you poking around there, looking for evidence. You're damn diligent when it comes to dead fascists. A jitter passes him. Did you like the view? You had direct visibility. There are embrasures in the concrete, specifically meant for a top faller to use. And you had a long-range rifle in your possession. Kim softens his voice. You've been here a long time, Mr. Dro. Too long. You need medical aid. I'm ready to die. He interrupts him, then coughs. I've done my part. He's practically admitting to it. Dead fascist for fascist. Done his part. It's the best uninterrupted line of sight into that window in all of Martinez. Because it's a sniper's nest, you stupid fuck. Radio Gosh is right. You have worms in your brain. Another sudden twitch. Then one more in his right eye. He almost burst out there. Keep piling arguments, anything. I don't necessarily need your cooperation if I've got your rifle. Not a lot of guns around that use military-grade ammunition, are there? It's a real gun. He points to your sidearm. Not like your little musketeer prince pistol. I've seen you prance around with that, jumping hoops for the liberals. You look like imbeciles. Why don't you ask them to give you real weapons? Going against automatic rifles with these toy guns. Of course you got those boys killed. Damn, he saw you. He's watched it happen. So he saw you. Okay. So what? Don't let it divert you. Hey, we saved a lot of them. We handled the situation as best we could have. You didn't handle anything. I watched it happen. You let those murderers rip right into them. Got most of them killed. Even the fat one. None of those people mean anything to you. The vultures feed on this city, and you prepare the meal for them. You're getting diverted. Push the gun. Only the gun matters. So you watched the fight? Did you like what you saw? The mayhem? It was all your doing. Your plan. You got them killed. You don't know anything. A twitch runs across the left side of his face as he stares the lieutenant down. Alright, look. We have the murder weapon. You know what? He looks at the weapon demonstratively. You're right. I'm convinced this made the shot. Should we call it? You think we have the murder weapon? 446 jacketed ammunition modified for range. He lists off. We have it. This is it. All right. Good. I'm calling it. We have it. Good. The lieutenant takes out his notebook and draws a single line. This feels good, doesn't it? Tying things up like this. When you have the murder weapon, you have the killer. Murder? Oh gosh, don't turn into Tisiphone. The old man does not say more. He just glances into the reeds and then twitches once more. Like a marionette on some invisible string. Just pushed him. But not enough. Just a little more. Alright, let's get weird. Look, I talked to the dead man. He told me communism killed him. Stupid Troy. He scoffs. The lieutenant looks at you with worry in his eyes. Not this. He seems to say anything but this. It was intuition. Had he spoken, he would have said communism killed him, because I can't back out of this now. Intuition is an aberrant psychologism. It reeks of crypto-fascism. The parasite class use intuition to justify their rank in life. It's all just palmistry and magic earl creatures. Your brain is rotting from the radio waves. He looks at the air, then turns to the lieutenant. He does not answer the provocation. It does not look like he thinks this approach worked. Yeah, this just did nothing. But still, somehow, you knew it was a communist. How? Perhaps you suspected it before you took the case. The vision was you remembering that. But this did nothing! Was it supposed to? I'll look deeper then. The island sea is dark, vast, and on the surface, meaningless. So it has to be deeper? Is this the miracle? No. The miracle is still waiting. This is the darkness. But aren't I way out in the west by now? You are. Soon. It will happen. Turn back to him. Standing there, slack-jawed, brain festering. The old man shakes his head. What am I forgetting? Okay, hit myself on the side of the head. Tap, tap, tap. Wait, here it comes. The goddamn Maybells! The dried Maybells on Classia's roof. But the ones we didn't catch? My head hurts now. Who cares? There were Maybells in the grass when you got here, and on Classia's balcony. Is that a coincidence? Wait, don't forget the footprints, the diagonal prints in the dust in the secret space behind Classia's bedroom. Now they're gonna come up. Ow. Yes, ouch. So good it hurts! Those were not modern prints. Maybe don't beat yourself anymore, though. You're not immortal. I wonder what brand of boots you're wearing. Everything is brands with you individualists. Who cares what brand my shoes are? Sansa... He looks at his running shoes, covered in mud. Some sheet. Show me the souls, please, Mr. Drop. Fucking imbecile. The old man stretches out his leg. A black and white spiral pattern covers the sole of the worn-out old running shoes on his feet. The maker is Sanzarique, the model is Corbière, and the size is 43. These are not the unusual horizontal pattern soles you saw in the dust on the floor of the hidden room, but they do, however, seem to be about the same size. The size fits, but not the sole. The lieutenant comes to the same conclusion. Wait, maybe it's simpler than that. Sire, he doesn't have to be wearing them right now. Look, people change shoes. It doesn't mean you weren't there, near the room the victim died in. Sneaking around. Racking those brains, are you? He squints at you, black pearls gleaming with hatred. Desperate to report something back to your masters. They must have really loved that dead fuck. The lieutenant gives you a quick sideways glance and nods to acknowledge. The prints were his. You can see it in his eyes. He can't keep them from flickering, looking for something. The old man stares at his own prints in the ash around the fire. Silent suddenly. Some strange process within him. A gust of wind. Seagulls in the distance. You almost got him. Just a little last push. Maybells behind the victim's window. I saw them growing here. Damn Maybells. He looks at the blossoming field. The whole island is turning white with them. He seems tender, suddenly. Nostalgic even. A strange mood swing. So many this year, too. The spring is coming? No. Is already here. Wash the filth away. I haven't seen these flowers anywhere else in Martinique. Only here. They blossom on the islets before. We fertilize them with our blood. Resurrection was snow white in May, before they ruined it. South, the Bay of Martinaise is dotted with little freckles of islets, turning green with white flowers in white snow. The coast too, before they piled their containers on top of it, filled with broken, useless trash for fat-fingered bourgeois children to play with. You must get around a lot to stay undetected all these years. The lieutenant's voice is soft, friendly. Do you know any secret paths? Pinball workshops? I may. A curious tremor passes his face. A young woman called Klasia. Ring any bells? Flowers like this were behind her window. Klasia. You know her, right? She had intimate relations with the victim, the mercenary. With the victim. He turns his sight from the whitening field of flowers and falls silent. Then the muscles in his jaw twitch. A spasm. There's a small tremble. Looks like a smile. A crooked smile. Yet isn't quite voluntary. He's about to burst. He suddenly jerks to life. You know who he was. A coalition-trained murderer, armored and armed. He wasn't human. The blunt end of a hammer, dripping with blood. He was a killer, but he was still under the protection of the law. He was not doing that here. Beating us to the ground, moaning with joy. He brings in with strange animation. You hounds get so thorough when a company-trained killer dies. I haven't seen you on this coast for 40 years. You know, maybe I should have killed one sooner. Cut your attention. He looks you dead in the eye, pupils shaking. Now you stop beating drugs and prostitutes in your basement. Now you come to investigate. Not when they die by the hundreds. He breathes through flared nostrils. This is it. Shot him. Shot him, not killed him. So you shot him. Oh, the inhumanity. One paramilitary less in Revolution. You can almost see him squeeze a tear out of his eye. His fists begin to tremble from the anger. The lieutenant raises his right arm to hush you. Hush, it does not need to be pushed anymore. The ball is rolling. While the lieutenant listens, holding his breath. Alright, I do have another point if need be. Hold your breath. I had them in my sights. Both of them. Him and the whore. I was breathing with them, in Fez, and I pulled the trigger and flew on the air until I landed in his mouth. He begins to smile. I didn't think I had a shot like that in me anymore. I did. I saw him kneel there with his mouth full of death and a stupid look on his face. And his dick still in her. The smile quivers. There! A hot flash of rage almost carries the smile away. Some dark peace. Then what? Nothing. I went to sleep. Next morning, there were Maybells everywhere. The world was white, or what was left of it anyway. My last spring here, I knew the fascists would come to avenge their own, and so they did. The lieutenant just looks at him for 1, maybe 2 seconds, then breaks the silence. Mr. Dro, are you aware that you're confessing to murder? Yes. A single word is all he gives. The lieutenant takes out his notebook slowly, very slowly, and you are looking at the victim and a young woman having sex through the scope of your rifle that night before you shot him? The old man nods. Why? Because that's what they were doing. He shrugs and smacks his lips. The motive, this is where the motive is going to come from. You can coax it out of him. The lieutenant's preparing the ground. I don't understand. Do you, detective? I don't understand this part. Why were you looking at them that night? I'm always looking. He cocks his head to the side, then turns his eyes to the city. Another tremor passes his right side, lower in intensity. Are you always looking through the scope of a rifle? I'm just trying to understand. A rifle's scope has the best magnification. Helps him see all this shit. And if you don't like it, if it's part of the shit you see, then you pull the trigger? Yes. He looks at the lieutenant in the eye. Think of it as a form of critique. You've got him going. Connect every little piece now. Wrap this up like a gift. Start with when he first saw him. It'll give him a chance to ramble. Hold on, old man. Is this gonna be okay? I don't know, we'll find out. Because I need to break a video. And I wanted to... Yeah, well, it'll have to do. I ain't going anywhere. Even the game agrees. Alright, I'll be right back, folks.